The Viking Age, spanning roughly from 793 to 1066 AD, is often seen as a time of unbridled conquest and exploration, where the seafaring Norsemen left an indelible mark on Europe. These Scandinavian warriors, traders, and settlers from present-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark influenced the course of history, venturing far beyond their homelands to the British Isles, continental Europe, Russia, and even North America. But the Viking Age is not merely a tale of raids and plunder. It is also a story of trade, cultural exchange, and the spread of ideas. In this video, we'll explore the fascinating lives of the first Vikings, their origins, culture, society, and far-reaching impacts, dispelling popular myths and presenting a nuanced portrait of these enigmatic figures. Popular culture often portrays Vikings as ruthless barbarians, clad in horned helmets, who terrorized Europe. While they were indeed fierce warriors, this image is overly simplistic. The horned helmet, for instance, is a 19th-century fabrication with no historical basis. Moreover, Vikings were also skilled traders, explorers, and settlers. They established towns, engaged in diplomacy, and had a rich cultural and religious life. This documentary aims to correct these misconceptions and provide a more balanced view of the Viking Age. To understand the Viking Age, one must first understand the harsh and rugged environment of Scandinavia. The Scandinavian peninsula, comprising modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, is characterized by its fjords, mountains, dense forests, and long coastlines. The climate varied significantly across the region, with colder, harsher conditions in the north and milder, more temperate climates in the south. These geographic and climatic conditions shaped the way of life for early Scandinavians, fostering a culture of resilience, adaptability, and maritime prowess. The story of the Vikings begins long before the Viking Age, in the Stone Age, when the first humans settled in Scandinavia. These early inhabitants were hunter-gatherers who relied on the rich natural resources of the region, including game, fish, and wild plants. Archaeological evidence, such as the famous rock carvings of Tanum in Sweden, provides insight into the beliefs and daily lives of these prehistoric peoples. The Bronze Age, circa 1800 to 500 BC, brought significant changes to Scandinavian society. The introduction of bronze tools and weapons allowed for more efficient agriculture, leading to population growth and the development of complex social structures. During this period, trade routes were established with other parts of Europe, bringing new goods, ideas, and influences to the region. The Bronze Age also saw the construction of impressive burial mounds and the development of a distinctive artistic style characterized by intricate metalwork and rock carvings. The transition to the Iron Age, circa 500 BC, 800 AD, marked another pivotal moment in Scandinavian history. Iron tools and weapons were more durable and effective than their bronze predecessors, allowing for further advancements in agriculture, warfare, and trade. The Iron Age is also the period in which the foundations of Viking society were laid, with the emergence of powerful chieftains, fortified settlements, and a warrior culture that would come to define the Viking Age. Norse mythology and religion were integral to Viking culture and worldview. The Norse pantheon included gods such as Odin, the All-Father, Thor, the god of thunder, and Freya, the goddess of love and fertility. These deities played a central role in the lives of early Scandinavians, influencing their beliefs about fate, honor, and the afterlife. Rituals, sacrifices, and feasts were common practices aimed at appeasing the gods and ensuring prosperity. The rich tapestry of Norse mythology, with its tales of creation, heroism, and Ragnarok, the end of the world, provided a spiritual framework that would persist throughout the Viking Age. Early Scandinavian society was organized into clans, each led by a chieftain who wielded both military and religious authority. These chieftains were supported by a warrior elite, known as the Herd, who served as their loyal retainers. The broader population consisted of free farmers, craftsmen, and merchants, as well as slaves, who were often captured in raids or warfare. Governance was based on a system of assemblies, known as things, where free men gathered to make decisions, resolve disputes, and pass laws. This early form of participatory governance laid the groundwork for the more complex political structures of the Viking Age. Scandinavia's extensive coastline and numerous waterways necessitated the development of advanced seafaring skills. From the earliest dugout canoes to the more sophisticated clinker-built boats, the people of Scandinavia were expert shipbuilders and navigators. These early maritime developments not only facilitated trade and communication between different parts of the region, but also set the stage for the later expansion of the Vikings across Europe and beyond. By the late 8th century, population pressure in Scandinavia had become a significant factor driving Viking expansion. Limited arable land and resources in their homeland led many Norsemen to seek new opportunities abroad, either through trade, settlement, or conquest. Climate change also played a role in the Viking expansion. A period of warmer temperatures, known as the medieval warm period, improved agricultural productivity in Scandinavia, but also made the North Atlantic more navigable, encouraging exploration and settlement in new territories. Technological advancements, particularly in shipbuilding, were crucial to the success of the Vikings. The development of the longship, with its shallow draft, speed, and ability to navigate both open seas and shallow rivers, allowed the Vikings to travel farther and faster than any of their contemporaries. Political instability in Europe provided the Vikings with numerous opportunities for raids and plunder. The fragmentation of power in the Carolingian Empire, for instance, made it an attractive target for Viking raiders. Additionally, internal conflicts within Scandinavian societies may have prompted some chieftains to seek wealth and prestige abroad. The Viking Age is traditionally said to have begun with the raid on the monastery of Lindisfarne on June 8, 793 AD. This attack shocked the Christian world, as the peaceful monks of Lindisfarne were slaughtered and their treasures looted. The raid was a prelude to what would become a century of Viking incursions into the British Isles and beyond. The choice of Lindisfarne was symbolic, as monasteries were both wealthy and poorly defended, making them ideal targets for the Vikings. This event marked the beginning of a new era of Norse expansion and the establishment of the Vikings as a formidable force in Europe. Following the raid on Lindisfarne, the Vikings launched a series of attacks on other monasteries and settlements along the coasts of England, Scotland, and Ireland. These early incursions were largely hit-and-run operations, designed to gather loot and slaves. However, over time, the Vikings began to establish more permanent bases in the British Isles, using them as staging points for further raids and eventually for settlement. The British Isles would become one of the primary theaters of Viking activity throughout the Viking Age, with lasting impacts on the region's political, social, and cultural landscape. The evolution of Scandinavian boat building is a testament to the ingenuity and adaptability of the Norse people. From the earliest dugout canoes to the sophisticated ships of the Viking Age, Scandinavian boat builders developed techniques that maximize the strength, speed, and versatility of their vessels. The clinker-built method, where overlapping planks were fastened together, allowed for a lighter and more flexible hull, making Viking ships ideal for both open-sea voyages and river navigation. The longship is perhaps the most iconic symbol of the Viking Age. Designed for speed and agility, longships were capable of carrying warriors across vast distances at remarkable speeds. With their shallow draft, they could navigate both open seas and shallow rivers, allowing the Vikings to strike deep into the heart of Europe. The longship's design, with its sleek lines and ornate prow, also reflected the importance of aesthetics and craftsmanship in Viking culture. While longships were the preferred vessels for raids and warfare, the Vikings also developed the Nar, a sturdy merchant ship used for trade and transportation. Nars were broader and deeper than longships, with a higher freeboard to protect against the rough seas of the North Atlantic. These ships were essential for the Viking economy, enabling the transport of goods, livestock, and passengers across vast distances. The Nar played a crucial role in Viking exploration and colonization, including the settlement of Iceland, Greenland, and even North America. In addition to longships and Nars, the Vikings also used smaller boats, such as fairings, for local transportation, fishing, and coastal navigation. These smaller vessels were often used to ferry goods and people between larger ships and the shore, as well as for navigating the many fjords, rivers, and lakes of Scandinavia. Fairings were typically rowed by 2 to 4 oarsmen and were highly maneuverable, making them ideal for short trips and inshore work. The success of the Vikings as seafarers depended not only on their ships, but also on their advanced navigation techniques. Viking navigators relied on a combination of natural signs, such as the position of the sun, stars, and sea currents, as well as man-made tools like the sunstone, a type of crystal that could be used to locate the sun on cloudy days. They also had a deep knowledge of coastal landmarks and marine geography, which they passed down through oral tradition. This expertise allowed the Vikings to undertake long and perilous voyages, reaching as far as the Mediterranean, the Arctic, and the shores of North America. The introduction of sails to Scandinavian ships, possibly influenced by contact with other seafaring cultures, was a game changer for the Vikings. Sails allowed Viking ships to harness the power of the wind, dramatically increasing their speed and range. This innovation enabled the Vikings to travel further and faster than ever before, opening up new opportunities for trade, exploration, and conquest. The use of both oars and sails made Viking ships highly versatile, able to adapt to changing conditions and allowing the Vikings to dominate the seas for nearly 3 centuries. Viking society was structured around a hierarchical system, with distinct social classes that determined a person's status, rights, and duties. At the top of the hierarchy were the kings and jarls, nobles, who held the most power and wealth. Below them were the free men, or carls, who were farmers, craftsmen, and warriors. The lowest class was made up of thralls or slaves who had little to no rights and were often captured in raids or born into slavery. Despite these divisions, Viking society was relatively fluid, and individuals could rise or fall in status based on their achievements or misfortunes. Life in Viking settlements was centered around the farmstead, which served as the primary economic unit. Most Vikings were farmers who grew crops such as barley, rye, and oats, and raised livestock including cattle, sheep, and pigs. The harsh Scandinavian climate required a high degree of self-sufficiency, and Viking households were skilled in a variety of crafts, including weaving, woodworking, and metalworking. The longhouses, where Vikings lived, were large, communal structures made of wood and thatch, with a central hearth that provided warmth and light. Social gatherings, feasts, and religious ceremonies were an important part of Viking life, helping to strengthen communal bonds and maintain social order. Viking art and craftsmanship reflected the values and beliefs of their society. Ornate jewelry, weapons, and tools were decorated with intricate designs, often featuring animals, gods, and mythical creatures. The Viking art style, known as the Uns or Ringerike style, is characterized by its flowing lines, interlaced patterns, and stylized motifs. Wood carving, metalwork, and textile production were highly developed crafts, and Viking artisans were skilled in working with a wide range of materials, including gold, silver, bronze, iron, and bone. The high level of craftsmanship in Viking artifacts speaks to the importance of aesthetics and symbolism in their culture. The Vikings were a largely oral society, with a rich tradition of storytelling, poetry, and song. The sagas and Eddas are the most famous examples of Norse literature, recounting the exploits of heroes, gods, and legendary kings. These stories were passed down orally for generations before being written down in the medieval period. Skalds, or poets, played an important role in Viking society, composing and reciting poems that celebrated the deeds of warriors and rulers. The oral traditions of the Vikings not only preserved their history and mythology, but also reinforced social values such as honor, loyalty, and bravery. Women in Viking society held a relatively high status compared to their counterparts in other contemporary cultures. While they were generally responsible for running the household and managing the farmstead, Viking women also had the right to own property, inherit wealth, and initiate divorce. Some women, known as shield maidens, even took up arms and fought alongside men in battle, although this was relatively rare. The high status of women in Viking society is reflected in the burial practices of the time, where women were often interred with valuable goods and weapons, signifying their importance and influence. Viking battle tactics were characterized by their speed, mobility, and element of surprise. The Vikings were masters of the hit-and-run raid, using their longships to strike quickly and retreat before their enemies could mount a defense. On land, they employed a variety of formations, including the shield wall, where warriors would lock their shields together to create a formidable barrier. The Vikings also made effective use of psychological warfare, using their fearsome reputation and intimidating battle cries to demoralize their opponents. Their ability to adapt to different terrains and conditions made them a formidable force on both land and sea. Viking warriors were well-armed and equipped with a range of weapons, including swords, axes, spears, and bows. The sword was the most prestigious weapon, often intricately decorated and passed down through generations as a family heirloom. The axe, however, was the most common weapon, valued for its versatility and effectiveness in close combat. Spears were used for both throwing and thrusting, while bows provided long-range capabilities. Viking armor was relatively light, consisting of a helmet, a mail shirt or leather jerkin, and a shield. This allowed for greater mobility in battle, although it also meant that Viking warriors had to rely on their skill and ferocity to protect themselves. The Viking Age produced a number of legendary warriors and leaders who left their mark on history. Figures such as Ragnar Lothbrok, Harald Hardrada, and Ivar the Boneless became the subjects of sagas and legends, their deeds celebrated in song and story. These leaders were often both chieftains and warriors, commanding their followers in battle and leading them on raids and expeditions. Their success was based not only on their martial prowess, but also on their ability to inspire loyalty and maintain the support of their followers. The stories of these famous Vikings continue to capture the imagination and have become an integral part of the Viking legacy. In 865 AD, a coalition of Viking forces, known as the Great Heathen Army, invaded England with the aim of conquering and settling the land. Led by the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok, the Great Heathen Army was one of the largest and most organized Viking forces ever assembled. Over the course of several years, they captured key cities, including York and Nottingham, and established Danelaw, a region of England under Viking control. The Great Heathen Army's campaign marked a significant turning point in the Viking Age, as it shifted from small-scale raids to large-scale invasions and the establishment of permanent settlements. The Vikings were not only raiders and warriors, but also skilled traders who established extensive trade networks across Europe, Asia, and the North Atlantic. These trade routes connected Scandinavia with the British Isles, the Frankish Empire, the Byzantine Empire, the Islamic Caliphates, and even the distant lands of the Volga Bulgars and the Khazars. Viking traders exchanged goods such as furs, amber, walrus ivory, and slaves for silver, silk, spices, and other luxury items. The trade networks established by the Vikings played a crucial role in the economic and cultural exchange between different regions, contributing to the wealth and prosperity of Scandinavian society. Vikings were adept at acquiring and trading a wide variety of goods. Furs from the forests of Scandinavia, amber from the Baltic coast, and walrus ivory from the Arctic were among the most valuable commodities traded by the Vikings. They also traded in slaves captured during raids or acquired through other means, who were sold in markets across Europe and the Middle East. In return, the Vikings imported goods such as silver from the Islamic world, silk from Byzantium, and wine from Francia. The trade in these goods not only enriched the Viking economy, but also brought new ideas, technologies, and cultural influences to Scandinavia. As Viking trade expanded, so too did the need for permanent trading hubs. Towns such as Hedeby in Denmark, Birka in Sweden, and Koppang in Norway became important centers of commerce and industry, where goods from across the known world were bought, sold, and exchanged. These towns were often strategically located near waterways, allowing for easy access by ship. They also served as cultural and social centers, where people from different backgrounds and regions came together. The growth of these trading centers contributed to the development of a more complex and interconnected Scandinavian society. The Viking spirit of exploration was driven by a combination of curiosity, ambition, and the search for new opportunities. The Vikings were among the first Europeans to explore and settle Iceland, Greenland, and even parts of North America. The discovery of Vinland, in what is now Newfoundland, Canada, is a testament to the Vikings' far-reaching explorations. In the east, Viking traders and explorers traveled down the rivers of Russia to the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, establishing trade routes and interacting with the Byzantine and Islamic empires. These explorations extended the reach of Viking culture and influence to the far corners of the known world. One of the most significant aspects of Viking exploration was their involvement in the East, particularly in the region that would become known as Russia. Viking traders and warriors, known as the Rus, played a key role in the formation of early Russian states, including the powerful city of Kiev. The Rus established trade routes along the Dnieper and Volga rivers, linking Scandinavia with the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic Caliphates. Viking warriors also served as mercenaries in the Byzantine army, where they became known as the Varangian Guard. This elite unit of Viking soldiers played a crucial role in the defense of the Byzantine Empire and left a lasting impact on its military traditions. The spread of Christianity played a major role in the transformation of Viking society and the eventual end of the Viking Age. The process of conversion was gradual, beginning with contact between Viking traders and Christian missionaries in the British Isles and the Frankish Empire. Over time, Christian kings and missionaries began to convert the pagan Scandinavian rulers. By the 11th century, most of Scandinavia had officially converted to Christianity, although many traditional beliefs and practices persisted for centuries. The conversion to Christianity brought the Vikings into closer alignment with the rest of medieval Europe and marked the beginning of a new era in Scandinavian history. The Christianization of Scandinavia was a complex and multifaceted process, involving not only religious conversion, but also significant changes in social and political structures. The establishment of the church in Scandinavia introduced new institutions, such as monasteries, bishoprics, and parishes, which played a central role in the spread of Christian beliefs and practices. The adoption of Christian laws and customs also had a profound impact on Viking society, leading to the decline of practices such as human sacrifice and the reformation of legal systems. The spread of Christianity was closely tied to the rise of centralized kingdoms in Scandinavia, as Christian kings used the church to legitimize their rule and consolidate their power. As the Viking Age progressed, the political landscape of Europe began to change. The rise of more powerful and organized European kingdoms, such as the Kingdom of England and the Holy Roman Empire, made it increasingly difficult for the Vikings to carry out their raids with the same success as before. The construction of fortifications, such as the Buzz in England, and the development of more effective military strategies, reduced the vulnerability of European settlements to Viking attacks. At the same time, many Viking leaders began to settle down and establish their own territories, such as the Duchy of Normandy in France, leading to a decline in raiding activity. The traditional end of the Viking Age is often marked by the Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066, where the Norwegian king Harald Hardrada was defeated by the English king Harold Godwin's son. This battle is seen as the last major Viking invasion of England and represents the culmination of the Viking Age. Although Viking influence and culture continued to persist in parts of Scandinavia and the British Isles, the defeat at Stamford Bridge symbolized the end of the Viking era of expansion and conquest. The subsequent Norman conquest of England, led by William the Conqueror, who was of Viking descent, marked the beginning of a new chapter in European history. The legacy of the Vikings is still evident today in the languages, cultures, and traditions of the regions they once ruled. The Vikings left a lasting impact on the development of Europe, from the formation of new kingdoms and states to the spread of trade and technology. Their influence can be seen in place names, legal systems, and even in modern popular culture, where the image of the Viking warrior continues to captivate the imagination. The Viking Age, though relatively short in duration, was a period of profound change and transformation, shaping the course of European history for centuries to come. The Viking Age was a dynamic and transformative period in European history, characterized by exploration, conquest, trade, and cultural exchange. The Vikings, with their advanced seafaring skills and warrior ethos, left an indelible mark on the regions they encountered, from the British Isles to the shores of North America. Their legacy is one of both destruction and creation, as they not only raided and pillaged but also settled, traded, and established new societies. The Viking Age was a time of great change, as the world of medieval Europe was reshaped by the forces of migration, warfare, and cultural diffusion. The legacy of the Vikings is a testament to the power of human ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. The Vikings were not only fierce warriors but also skilled traders, explorers, and craftsmen who contributed to the development of the medieval world in ways that are still felt today. Their impact on language, law, and culture can be traced in many of the countries they once inhabited, and their stories continue to inspire and intrigue people around the world. The study of the Viking Age offers valuable insights into the complexities of cultural interaction and the ways in which societies adapt to changing circumstances. The Vikings remain a popular subject of study and fascination, not only because of their dramatic exploits, but also because of the insights they offer into a world that is both familiar and foreign. The Viking Age, with its mix of heroism, brutality, and exploration, speaks to the enduring human desire to push boundaries and seek out new horizons. Whether through historical research, archaeological discoveries, or popular media, the story of the Vikings continues to captivate and inspire, reminding us of the enduring legacy of these remarkable people. The Vikings were more than just raiders and warriors. They were a people who shaped the course of European history through their actions and interactions. Their influence can be seen in the political, economic, and cultural development of the regions they touched, from the British Isles to the Byzantine Empire. The end of the Viking Age marked the beginning of a new era in European history, but the legacy of the Vikings lives on, a reminder of a time when the seas were alive with the sound of oars and the clash of swords. Throughout their history, The Vikings displayed a unique blend of brutality and cunning, often switching between their roles as warriors and traders with ease. This duality allowed them to thrive in a complex world of politics, commerce, and cultural exchange, leaving behind a rich legacy that continues to fascinate us today. If you enjoyed this journey into Viking history, be sure to like and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.